This is a long article from The Guardian. Trigger warning, it does include grape and it includes dating apps hiding predators. I'm going to do this whole article even though it's long. It's titled Grape Under Wraps: How Tinder, Hinge, and their corporate owner chose profits over safety. This is long because this was an 18-month investigation. It was produced in partnership with the Pulitzer Center AI Accountability Network and The Markup, now a part of Cal Matters, and co-published with The Guardian in the 19th. So I'm just putting it out there. That's the reason why it's so long. And these are the reporters here. All right, let's get into this long article. Like I said, grab you a beverage, sit down, let's buckle up and read this. All right, it says, when a young woman in Denver met up with a smiling cardiologist she matched with on a dating app Hinge, she had no way of knowing that the company behind the app had already received reports from two other women who accused him of rape. She met the 34-year-old doctor with green eyes and thinning hair at Highland Tap and Burger, a sports bar in a trendy neighborhood. It went well enough that she accepted an invitation to go back to his apartment. As she emerged from his bathroom, he handed her a tequila soda. What transpired over the next 24 hours, according to court testimony, reads like every person's dating app nightmare. After sipping the drink, the woman started to lose control. Her memory blurred. She fell to the ground, and the man started to film her. He put her in a headlock, kissing her forehead. She struggled to free herself, but managed to grab her things and leave. He followed her out the door, holding her shoes and trying to force her back inside. But she was able to call an Uber, vomiting in the car on the way home. She woke up at home soaking wet on her bathroom floor, the key to her house still in the door. She continued vomiting for hours. When she came to, she reported the assault to Hinge. Hinge is one of the more than dozen dating apps owned by Match Group. The $8.5 billion global conglomerate also owns brands like Tinder, the world's most popular dating app, OkCupid, and Plenty of Fish. Match Group controls half of the world's online dating market, operates in 190 countries, and facilitates meetups for millions of people. Match Group's official safety policy states that when a user is reported for assault, all accounts found that are associated with that user will be banned from our platforms. So why, on the night of the 25th of January 2023, was Stephen Matthews still on the app? Just 4 days before, Match Group had been alerted by another woman had reported him for rape. A little more than a week later, he was reported again for rape. This time the survivor went to the police. None of these women knew that the company had known about his violent behaviors for years. He was first reported on the 28th of September 2020. By then, Match Group's safety policy was already in place. Even after a police report, it took nearly 2 months for Matthews to be arrested. The only thing that got him off the apps. At least 15 women would eventually report that Matthews had raped or drugged them. Nearly every one of them had met him on the dating apps run by Match Group. On October 25th, a Denver judge sentenced Matthews to 158 years to life in prison after a jury convicted him of 35 counts related to drugging and SAing 8 women, drugging 2 women, and assaulting 1 more for a total of 11 women. Attorneys for the women said much of that violence could have been prevented. It is shocking that for years after receiving reports of SA, Hinge continued to allow Stephen Matthews access to its platforms and actively facilitated his abuse, said Laura Wolf, the attorney representing the woman whose police report led to the arrest. Following best practices for reporting on SA, the dating app's reporting project is honoring survivors' requests for anonymity. Matthews' attorney, Douglas Cohen, declined to comment. A letter that the dating app's reporting project sent directly to Matthews in jail went unanswered. Match Group's reach is so massive. Its mission is to spark meaningful connections for every single person worldwide, that people are more likely to meet through apps than out at the bars, at church, or through friends. But Matthew's case shows that even as these apps have made it easier for people to connect with a seemingly endless pool of potential lovers, they have also made it easier for people who commit SA to reach a seemingly endless number of potential targets. In 2022, a team of researchers at Brigham Young University published an analysis of hundreds of SAs in Utah. They found that attacks facilitated by dating apps happened faster and were more violent than when the perpetrator met the victim through other means. They also found that perpetrators who used dating apps were more likely to target vulnerable people. Almost 60% of SA survivors self reported a mental illness. Match Group has known since at least 2016 which users have been reported for drugging, assaulting, or graping their dates, according to internal company documents. Since 2019, Match Group's central database has recorded every user reported for grape and assault across its entire suite of apps. By 2022, the system known as Sentinel was collecting hundreds of troubling incidents every week, company insiders say. Match Group promised in 2020 that it would release what's known as a transparency report, a public document that would reveal data on harm occurring on and off its platforms. If the public were aware of the scale of rape and assault on Match Group apps, they would be able to accurately assess their risk. As of February 2025, the report has not been released. Ladies, get off of these dating apps. Instead, as people continue to get hurt, the company dithered over what damning information should be hidden. Do we publish only where we are required by law? Reads a slide in a 2021 presentation shown multiple times to Match Group employees as well as to external safety partners. Do we push back on how much we are required to reveal, or do we try to go beyond what is required? This is a screenshot from their presentation where they were talking about what to publish, what they had to publish, what they needed to publish, or whatnot. This is what they were teaching inside of their company. All right, it says no online space is risk-free, but while Match Group has long possessed the tools, financial resources, and investigative procedures necessary to make it harder for bad actors to resurface, internal documents show the company resisted efforts to spread them across its apps, in part because safety protocols could stall corporate growth. The obsession with metrics and having to stick with them is frustrating and potentially dangerous, one employee wrote in 2021 after the company learned that the investigative news nonprofit ProPublica was planning a story. This is not the way we were meant to work, and people's lives are at risk. And so this is a screenshot of a document with the Match Group's employees' feedback talking about the obsession with metrics. The same person asked their superiors, how much would you personally pay to stop just one person being SA'd by a date, one child being trafficked, or one vulnerable person being driven to self-deletion by a predator? I feel that if I asked members of our staff that question individually, they would put a high value of their own money on it. But as a group is ready to hear that, but nobody as a group is ready to hear that yet. Since 2021, Match Group has publicly promised to improve the safety of their products and to share data, but the company insiders say safety has not improved. A brief hiring spree sparked by congressional and media scrutiny has been largely scaled back, according to former employees. In 2021, the remaining employees from the Central Trust and Safety Team Match Group had set up in response to increased scrutiny were let go and their jobs outsourced to overseas contractors. Facing pressure from Wall Street, Match Group removed its CEO, Bernard Kim, in early February 2025 as he struggled to cut costs and end the steady decline in subscribers to Match Group's most powerful app, Tinder. Members of Congress have repeatedly requested data from Match Group on sexual harm. In February 2020, 11 members of Congress wrote to then CEO Shar Dubey asking for details on how the company responds to reports of sexual violence. In July 2023, two Democrats, then Representative Annie Kuster of New Hampshire and the Representative Jan Schakowsky of Illinois, followed up after we inquired on the status of their efforts. The company has still not provided the data. This is a good place to stop. I'm going to make a part 2 as I continue through this long article. This is part 2. I'm continuing this long article from The Guardian that's talking about how Tinder and Hinge, how they chose profits over safety. I'm going to continue. Like I said, I am going to push through this article. Ladies, get off these apps. They don't care about y'all's safety. In September 2024, the House of Representatives passed a bill that would have required consumers to be notified if they had interacted with a user on a dating app who had been banned for defrauding consumers of money or personal financial information. But the bill stopped short of addressing the issue of SA on the apps, and it died in the Senate. Our review of hundreds of pages of internal company documents, along with thousands of pages of court records, security filings, and analyst reports, coupled with dozens of interviews with current and former employees and survivors of sexual violence, found that women who report being raped get no traction, while accused rapists like Stephen Matthews keep swiping and assaulting. Our own testing on Match Group apps showed that as of February 2025, not much has changed. Banned Tinder users, including those reported for SA, would easily rejoin or move to another Match Group dating app, all while keeping most of their key personal information exactly the same. The Dating Apps Reporting Project sent Match Group a 4-page letter detailing our findings. The company responded with a short statement. The statement did not dispute that Match Group had carefully documented the extent of harm on company apps for years without sharing that information with the public. It also defended the company's efforts to make the platform safe. We recognize our role in fostering safer communities and promoting authentic and respectful connections worldwide. The statement provided by Kayla Whaling, Senior Director of Communications. We will always work to invest in and improve our systems and search for ways to help our users stay safe, both online and when they connect in real life. The company said it vigorously combats violence. We take every report of misconduct seriously and vigilantly remove and block accounts that have violated our rules regarding this behavior, its statement read. Our own testing found otherwise. Starting in April 2024, the Dating Apps Reporting Project created a series of Tinder accounts that we subsequently reported for SA. Soon after, Tinder banned the accounts, and we started investigating how easy it would be for a banned user to create new accounts. Repeatedly, we found that users, soon after being banned, could create new Tinder accounts with the exact same name, birthday, and profile photos used on their banned accounts. Users banned from Tinder were also able to sign up for Hinge, OkCupid, and Plenty of Fish without changing those personal details. To get around the Tinder ban, we use techniques commonly suggested by online guides and forums that don't require much technical knowledge to understand. We were able to verify 3 techniques that allow banned Match Group users to repeatedly bypass being flagged when creating new accounts. In its statement, Match Group cast itself as an industry leader in deploying technology to promote safety, including harassment-preventing AI tools, ID verifications for profiles, and a portal that helps us better support and communicate with law enforcement investigating crimes. Every person deserves safe and respectful experiences. We are committed to doing the work to make dating safer on our platforms and beyond. September 28, 2020, the date Denver cardiologist Stephen Matthews raped a woman who reported him to Hinge, is also the date Tracy Breeden was brought on as Match Group's head of safety and social advocacy. Breeden was a flashy hire. With Tracy coming on board, we are affirming our commitment not just to be safety leaders in the dating space, but across the entire tech sector, the CEO, Shar Dubey, said. Sporting a trademark black leather jacket and short, slicked back hair, Breeden had gone by the nickname Tornado during her 15-year career in law enforcement. What made her attractive to Match Group was her most recent job at Uber. She had helped the global ride-hailing company revive its reputation after a series of scandals, from persistent reports of harassment of female employees to allegations that it was ignoring SA that occurred during Uber rides. Breeden spearheaded a safety report in 2019 that told the public what Uber knew about nearly every problem, including nationwide reports of intoxicated drivers, traffic fatalities, and incidents of sexual violence. The report became a key metric of success for the company. In hiring Breeden, Match Group hoped to replicate this success across its portfolio of apps. Corporations, she said in a press release announcing her arrival, have a responsibility to help ensure safe experiences for their users. Breeden's team garnered public attention for their new safety measures, including partnerships with NGOs, optional AI assisted photo verification, and a law enforcement portal where police and prosecutors could request data. She also fostered a partnership with Garbo, a setup that offered low cost background checks. It launched on Tinder in 2022. Experts point out that background checks are not always reliable as they pull from outdated databases, and research suggests that most people who commit SA do not encounter the criminal justice system. For example, Matthews had no criminal record. During this time, Match Group invested $100 million in safety, the company said, and boasted about Breeden's central safety team. Her team of veteran safety professionals referred to themselves as the Avengers, even donning superhero costumes at company events. But Michael Lowry called this safety theater. Lowry worked for Match Group for nearly a decade, shaping and leading a safety team for one of the company's smaller brands, OkCupid. Sometimes working 80-hour weeks, he spent hours, even days, sniffing out savvy users who tried to thwart bans by creating multiple accounts. Over a 30-year career in content moderation, Lowry said he saw many users like Stephen Matthews. You're dealing with one repeat offender. I've dealt with God knows how many repeat offenders. A yellow post-it note on the side of Lowry's work computer that listed out some of his responsibilities. Grape flags, investigate miscreants. These days, Lowry is trying to start an advocacy organization for content moderators and the frontline safety workers, but he said he's done with the dating apps. I don't think they're safe enough at the moment, he said. They're going to get worse. I'm hoping dating sites vanish. Lowry said he was initially excited about Breeden's hire. He says she spent her first few months on the job talking to each brand's safety team and told him that she was very impressed by the work OkCupid was doing. Leaders from each of Match Group's biggest apps provided their self-described strengths and weaknesses to Brenda's team, according to an internal spreadsheet. At Hinge, these weaknesses included a very rudimentary warning system with no targeted comms and no follow-through, and no way to find the original profile of a bad actor who had created multiple profiles. Breeden was confronted with an existential problem. Our current ban categories won't allow us to answer the public's biggest question: am I likely to be harmed on my date? Reads a slide in a presentation drafted by her team in April 2021. While each of Match Group's apps had a system of reporting and banning violent users, the information was disorganized, and none of the apps talked to each other. Lowry hoped Breeden would improve safety at the company, but he quickly grew frustrated that neither she nor Match Group leadership listened to his pleas for what they really needed to make the platform safer: to hire trained and expensive investigators and integrate powerful moderation tools across all the apps. OkCupid already had those tools. Lowry was using them every day. One of the systems was Sentinel Systems, which had been up and running across Match Group's apps for at least 5 years before Breeden arrived. It worked like this. When a user was banned for something serious like SA, a case was created in Sentinel with the phone number and email address associated with their account. In interviews, multiple current and former employees described how those reports circulated through each of Match Group's apps. The system was designed to ban anyone who used that information. It also grabbed the original profile's IP addresses, photos, and birth date. Such a system seems robust at first glance, but none of the Match Group's apps required users to provide photo identification, the kind needed to buy alcohol or board an airplane. So once a person was kicked out, they could easily start a new account with different contact information. A quick search yielded scores of online forums with clear steps and suggested for how to rejoin apps. In addition, internal company documents showed that information on IP addresses, photos, and birth dates were not used to ban a user if they appeared on another match dating app. I'm going to create a part 3 because, like I said, this is a very long article, but it's very important information. So part 3 is coming. This is part 3 talking about how these dating apps basically hid predators and allowed them to continue making accounts. Lori's team at OkCupid knew Sentinel could only do so much, so his team deployed other tools to fix his shortcomings, including one that could automatically ban a profile that was linked to a phone number, photo, or URL that had been previously banned, even if the user made an account with a different email or IP address. This tool was designed to be proactive rather than reactive so that the profiles of alleged perpetrators like Matthews would not resurface after they had been reported. Internal company documents from 2019 and 2020 show thousands of reports of serious physical assault, abuse, and violence on OkCupid that were deemed serious enough to get users banned from all of Match Group's apps. This is among the information the company kept from the public. Breeden and Match Group leadership praised Lori and his team at OkCupid, he said, for thorough investigative work and for handling some of the company's most difficult cases. Yet, he said, Match Group never built out a skilled, experienced investigative unit at other brands like the one headed up by OkCupid. Under Breeden's leadership, he said, they faced pressure to speed up investigation and train outsourced labor to use complicated moderation tools. In 2021, a week after a damning article revealed that content moderators with little training were asked to rapidly deal with violent actual content across Match Group brands, then CEO Doobie sent out an all-staff email addressing the controversy. She CC'd Breeden, acknowledging that the brand's safety teams were not all on equal footing. As Match Group prepared internally for the story to break, Lori was asked to write a report for Breeden outlining his team's accomplishments to make sure when Tracy describes and acknowledges what you're doing individually to celebrate the good work you are doing. Lori used that report to protest. Most professionals aren't judged on how many cases they can hurry through in an hour, he wrote. The way Match Group expected its trust and safety and support teams to work basically diminishes their skills and makes them production line workers. Breeden declined to comment for this story, citing a non-disclosure agreement. Lori left the company in 2022 and said most of his small team that had been ferreted out malicious users also left due to negative work environment. He said much of their work was outsourced to contractors with little training and severe quotas. He now cautions anyone using a dating app to understand that the apps are not in the business of protecting users. You are on your own, pretty much, he said. As Lori was getting pushed out of Match Group, Matthews kept appearing on the company's apps. One crisp fall evening in 2022, one of the Denver cardiologist's old medical school classmates was on Hinge when her phone screen filled up with a familiar face. Matthews was being promoted on the app as a standout, a popular profile that Hinge's algorithm thinks another user will like. To match with a standout, users must send the person a rose. They get one free rose a week, but they cost $3.99 a pop after that. His classmate did not send Matthews a rose. And this is Stephen Matthews right here. By this point, Matthews had already been reported for rape at least once to Hinge. Court documents show that he had already allegedly SA'd 9 women and drugged 10. Not only did the apps allow him back on, they featured Matthews' profiles. As the COVID-19 pandemic dragged on, people got tired of forking over money for dating apps. Match Group still made a hefty profit, but its growth flatlined. Its stock cratered, losing nearly half its value between October 21st and April 2022. That month, an analyst from JP Morgan wrote that the firm had received more messages about the underperformance of MTCH shares in recent weeks than any other topic. In May 2022, Match ousted Doobie as CEO and installed Bernard Kim, a former executive at the gaming company Zynga that popularized viral games like Farmville. While Doobie spoke frequently about trust and safety and worked closely with Breeden, Kim hardly mentioned safety when he began his time at Match Group, instead emphasizing the need for continued rapid expansion to drive long-term shareholder value. Lori said that Kim, with his background in gaming rather than dating apps, had no interest in love. He just wants to make money. He's just there to increase profits, Lori said. If he's looking at a bottom line, then it's easier to have a lawsuit than it is to provide safety. I know which one he's going to pick. Match Group declined to make Kim available for an interview. Messages sent to Kim directly went unreturned. Despite Kim's efforts, Match Group's stock price continued to drop, and during that time, so did any mention of trust and safety. In more than a year of quarterly investor calls, Kim only referenced safety efforts once. Employees who pushed for these initiatives were forced out or laid off, including Breeden, a leader who was so convinced of her own invincibility that she showed up to an event wielding a Captain America shield. Here she is right here. I think I may have seen her on a commercial or something before. Match Group fired its power hire in October 2022. Layoffs hit her team over the next several months. In February 2024, the remaining critical investigators and law enforcement liaisons on Breeden's central safety team were shown the door. Group employees have been gossiping about the cutbacks. You're not going to see them taking safety seriously ever again, he said, adding that the only thing he thinks might change that is legislation. 4 months before Matthews was arrested, a post on a Facebook group in Denver blew up around Christmas. Among posts warning other women about potentially harmful men, over and over again, women furiously detailed negative experiences they or their friends had with Matthews. Some women described him as sketchy, others called him terrible and not safe. Multiple women told a similar dark story that they had been offered drinks, blacked out, and were SA'd. The thread reached 150 comments. 2 women wrote the same thing, that they had been waiting for someone to post about the cardiologist. A flood of Facebook comments mirrored details in police reports released the following year. Nearly all of the 16 women included in the district attorney's initial complaints had been offered tequila. 8 recalled playing Jenga. 6 mentioned a hot tub. As these stories circulated in this small corner of the internet in December 2022, the Denver cardiologist stayed on Match Group apps. Those fortunate enough to know about the Facebook group and who had the foresight to check for Matthews on it would be saved from a bad date or worse. But the fact that he could still log into Tinder and Hinge left him with a pool of thousands of unsuspecting women whom he could and would continue to match with. The Dating Apps Reporting Project is aware of 4 additional women who have accused Matthews of drugging and or raping them who were not part of the criminal complaint. Each of these women met Matthews on a Match Group app during a single year between the summers of 2020 and 2021. During the years Matthews was on their apps, Match Group hired and fired Breeden. It made loud promises on actual violence, announced initiatives and product lines, and promised a transparency report, but it was not straight with the public, which meant the women matching with Matthews on Match Group apps were not aware of the risk they faced. Match Group's partnership with Garbo, the background check company, also fell apart in summer 2023. It's become clear that most online platforms aren't legitimately committed to trust and safety for their users, Garbo wrote in a searing blog post. After spending so much energy talking about monetization, gamification, and growth, Kim began to publicly acknowledge this problem. Speaking at a Citibank conference in the fall of 2023, he said the company was investing in new features to make sure women have a good experience while they're in the product. They feel safe, they feel secure, etc. They are the product. Women, you are the product. The etc. does not seem to include increased transparency about safety. Instead, in May 2023, Tinder released a female-focused package, a curated list of high-quality profiles. It's unclear how Tinder determines these high-quality matches. Hinge's standout feature, which is similar, had previously promoted Matthews. In fact, under Kim's leadership, all mentions of transparency reports disappeared from the company's annual impact report. Ironically, this was around the same time that new legislation in Europe required tech companies to disclose reports of non-consensual behavior and other issues. Match Group will be required to submit a transparency report to the European Union on the scope of harm on their platform later this month. Lawmakers in India and Australia are also demanding transparency. This is exactly the situation Breeden and her team pondered 3 years ago. What if publishing in one jurisdiction sparks a requirement in another? Read a slide in the same internal presentation where Match Group's trust and safety leaders wondered whether they should push back on how much they are required to reveal. After Match Group published a disappointing earnings report in February 2025 that fell below analyst expectations, it also announced that Kim would be replaced by the former Zillow CEO Spencer Raskoff. Tinder's revenue, sales, and subscribers had all gone down. As Match Group struggles to reverse its decline, it's also aware that its reputation is in the spotlight. Earnings calls and shareholder letters over the first 3 quarters of 2024 indicate that the company knows it is a business imperative to make women feel safer on its platforms. Match Group's brought in a new vice president of trust and safety whose job partly focuses on complying with increased global transparency requirements. The company is experimenting with requiring faces in photos and rolled out a share my date feature so you can be tracked while meeting up with an online stranger. On Tinder, it orchestrated a major ecosystem cleanup geared toward identifying fake profiles and getting scammers off the app. Matthews will likely never leave prison. Match Group executives currently face no charges, but the company knew about Matthews and it knows about thousands of other abusive users. It has the data that could help people avoid dangerous situations, but it hasn't shared it, leaving millions of people in the dark. Lawmakers around the world are starting to ask for answers from the most powerful force in modern dating. In June, Colorado passed a law, triggered by the Matthews case, that forces dating app companies to tell the state attorney general which safety measures they are taking to protect users. Although the law leaves room for possibility for additional transparency in the future, it does not currently require the company to tell the state or the public how many people are raped or assaulted after using its platform. In the US, the surface has only been scratched. In most states, there is little that requires Match Group to share information with users or with Congress. The reality is that if Stephen Matthews were released today, he could get right back on the dating app. Match Group knows this, and now so do you. This was a long article. I do realize that. But this just goes to show how these companies will just keep on trying to bury their dirt. These companies still have not released the data. They still have not, because there's no law forcing them to. So if you are still on dating apps after hearing all of this, after hearing how very little care they put into their dating apps and safety and trust, you really need to evaluate your decisions, because you're going into it blind, because these people are purposely hiding this stuff to where you're not safe. All right, y'all. Like I said, get off the apps. They're not safe. But join the conversation. Please share these stories. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And if you did make it this far, I definitely appreciate you. Drop a black heart in the comment section if you actually made it to the end of this article, to the end of this video. Join the conversation, like, comment, share, and go ahead and follow if you're not yet following.